Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. It is the last of the long-form videos of the day, so it's my last wonderful opportunity to say to anyone who is yet to subscribe, please do so. Please help grow the channel. Please help spread the news. Now, we've got a story here about football and the fact that Scottish games are not on free-to-air outside of major tournaments. So qualifier games and friendlies and things like that are behind a paywall. And that's a problem. But it's not a problem that can be solved by the Scottish Government or indeed by Westminster. And yet the Scottish Government, acknowledging it can't do it, is asking Westminster to sort this out for them. The fact is, FIFA own the rights. FIFA are basically a private company. Who they sell the rights to is their business. Whoever buys the rights, it's their business. There's nothing the government can do. Short of being outside, as I say, of the big tournaments, the Euros and the World Cup, you're going to have to pay. Now, the very fact that England matches are free to air in England is neither here nor there. That's because the BBC and ITV got together, put the money together, and between them bought the rights. That's fine. That's how it is. Now, you might say, why didn't they buy the Scottish rights? Well, you have to ask STV and BBC Scotland why they didn't put their money together to buy Scotland's football rights. It's not a matter for government, is it? It's a very weird thing. But we'll take a quick look at this to see why people in Scotland aren't missing out on the national game. And why it's certainly not Westminster's fault. Here goes. So, SNP government launches bid for Scotland games to be on available free TV, despite it being a reserved issue. And this is very weird. You'd argue that even though it's Westminster that controls what becomes what's called national events, that is a reserved issue. But they don't control who buys what rights for outside the big events. First Minister Humza is leading renewed calls for Steve Clarke's men's games to be broadcast on terrestrial TV like the BBC, Channel 4 and ITV. Although the SFA have previously said this is up to broadcasters and not the Scottish Government. And that's the problem. You see, the SFA want the most money they can get, and so they will say, we'll sell it to whoever gives us the most money. And it wasn't the BBC, of course. The Scottish Government has launched a bid to air major Scotland international football games on free-to-air telly, despite this being a reserved matter for Westminster. SNP ministers are set to launch a consultation on it later this year as Steve Clarke's men gear up for the Euros 2024. But not even English internationals are protected to be aired, and are aired on the likes of BBC, ITV and Channel 4, with the UK government and Ofcom having a list of reserved sporting events which need to be on terrestrial TV. These include major footballing competitions, Wimbledon and the Olympics, and a few horse races. The Grand National, for example, and the Derby both must be shown. There's a few things like that. And the FA Cup final is reserved as well. But that's only for those finals. It doesn't include all the England games up to. And so, if, for example, one year Sky TV bought the rights to the England qualifiers, then Sky TV would show them. And if you don't pay for Sky TV, you're a shit out of luck, aren't you? It is up to UEFA to sell the games to broadcasters. This is because it's the Europeans. If it was the World Cup, it'd be FIFA. But this is the Europeans, so it's UEFA. So it's up to UEFA to sell the games to broadcasters, with Swedish streaming service Viaplay snapping up Scotland's Euro, World Cup, Nation League games and friendlies until 2028. After this, bidders will be invited to purchase the next set of matches. And so if STV want to put a bid in, maybe they can go with BBC Scotland, put a joint bid in and split the games. Who knows? The Scottish Football Association receives cash from these airings, and it would lose out if they became free to view. Channel 4 and ITV have bought the England games for the next few years, meaning they are free to watch across the UK. Because they bought them, not given them by the government. Both the SNP and the Scottish Government launched the campaign on the same day, April 1st, and joined the Scottish Greens in making this call. It's been repeatedly explained to all parties that this is an issue which can only be solved by broadcasters, with Tory ministers having no plans to update the list of crown jewel sporting events. And of course not. If, for example, they want to have these things free to air, then it must be up to the Scottish Government to put a bid in that outbids everyone else's bid, and then say to Channel 4 or STV, whatever, look, we've bought this, we'll give it to you, we'll knock a bit off, to whatever you can afford, but this way we can put it free to air, whatever. First Minister Humza Yousaf said the Scottish Government is taking a further step towards making major Scotland international football matches available free to air, which would allow the whole country to get behind our national team in important qualifying fixtures. Oh, is he giving money then to a private company to up their bid? So he's giving public money to a private company? Seems very odd, doesn't it? Scots celebrated as our men's national team charged their way on scintillating form into this year's Euro Championships, and will be all behind the women's national team when the qualifiers get underway next month. But most Scots are blocked from watching the national team, with the bulk of games shown on a pay-per-view basis. Either you go around a friend's house or you go down the pub. Or you get one of those little magic sticks. Apparently, allegedly. I have not been. Anyway, with so much at stake in qualifiers, our vision is for all fans to be able to watch their national side as they battle to reach the world's biggest competitions, and quite right too. However, you need to have a word with your broadcasters. It's not a governmental issue. What are you going to do? Tell UEFA, oh, you've got to sell it to STV, you've got to sell it to BBC Scotland, you've got to sell it to Channel 4. UEFA will laugh at you and tell you, FO. Anyway, with the full powers of independence, the Scottish Government would have the power to determine the list of events that should be available to broadcast free to air. Now, if you went to UEFA and said, no, we've got this is the rules now, boom, they'd just not sell it to you. Just, no, we're under no obligation to give you it. It's not your football. We own it. And if you don't pay us, we ain't getting it. They're entitled to do that. Humza Yousaf seems to think that because he's the First Minister, he's some kind of deity, a demigod, powered, the son of Zeus or something. He is no such thing. He's an inadequate, effete wastrel who has got less authority than my dog. Anyway, broadcasting policy is currently reserved to the UK government. Only Westminster can add the matches being included in the so-called crown jewels. And they haven't added England's qualifiers, so why on earth would they add Scotland's qualifiers? That'd be very much unfair, wouldn't it? With the UK government refusing to act to resolve the situation for Scotland fans, the Scottish government will launch a consultation on the issue to help progress the campaign to ensure Scotland's international qualifying matches are on terrestrial TV. There's only one way you guarantee that, Humza. Kerching. Put the money in, stop making an arse of yourself, and just get on with it. You know what the problem is, and yet you're trying to blame this on Westminster. You're creating this difference. It's not Westminster. It's broadcasters not being willing to pay for Scottish matches, presumably because they don't generate enough income. That's what you have to consider. Never mind. I'm sure you'll work out a way of dealing with it. You're a man of your deep and wonderful intellect will eventually work out how he can do it. Coming up. It seems to be the default position for Humza Yousaf that if there is a particularly nasty conundrum, a really complex, knotty problem, something that he knows he lacks the intellectual ability to fix, he blames Westminster and passes the buck. Oh, it's Westminster's fault. He knows it isn't. We know it isn't. Everyone knows it isn't. But he's going to have to make it that way because he doesn't want to look like a failure. Too late. Thanks very much for watching. This is the last, like I say, long one of the day. So go and have a good evening. If you've worked today, very unlucky. Obviously being a bank holiday, but I'm sure most of you will either be not going to work tomorrow or will be going to work tomorrow. It's us lucky ones, eh? Us lucky ones. Anyway, have a good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Speak soon. Bye.